So, what happens when you mess up, when you don't listen to your inner authority, you ignore your strategy, even if you've been experimenting with it for many years, and you make a wrong move? How do you deal with an environment that's not healthy for you? And how long does it take for life to auto-correct its course? My name's Mal. I'm a professional human design analyst. As a third line being, I'm here to make all the mistakes so that hopefully you don't have to. So we were living in a really wonderful house in a perfect place. Let me show you. This is in January last year. My partner Julie did a little doodle of her fantasy house, and she's got the channel of recognition of dreams. She's very visual, so she's very in tune with these things, and soon enough she spotted this house on Facebook as an advert, and well, we considered it. It was a bit higher than our rent, but it's a really special house. And we moved in, and all kinds of opportunities opened up for us. I started running a men's group, and we started doing talks in the round living room. We used a space for, I do manual therapy, and everything was working really well. But nothing's ever good enough for the mind. And, I'm someone with an open root center. I'm very susceptible to stressing myself out from my mind, and we're going to have a baby, and Julie's working less. So we heard that some friends were moving out of their place, and we were not asked, we were not invited. It was not really in our flow, but we had the idea that this place was half the rent, right? So, we talked to them. I talked to a friend of mine the next day. A friend agreed to take our house, and everything went really, really quick. And we moved into, this place. And when you do something like that, a move based on an idea, and of course we made a list of pros and the cons, and that is guaranteed to mess yourself up. I mean, that's how most people make a decision, right? But the thing is that the mind obviously never has all the information. You never know what all the cons. We didn't know that the neighbor has a cockerel on his balcony right next to the bedrooms, who's going off all night, anytime. I mean, our friends just forgot to tell us, and there's always more cons. Sometimes some of the pros turn out to be cons, some of the cons turn out to be pros, whatever. But it's been really stressful. Neither of us have been sleeping well. My work just skydived. It was going really well, and moving completely destabilized me. And I like to work in my own space. I've got the 45 and this channel of direction that you can see there from the self to the throat. And I like to have my environment my way. So it's taking me quite a long time, a month basically, to decorate and make a new room here. And people stop calling me because people can pick up on where you are. And I was completely exhausted. I'm still very tired, and it's the most dangerous thing for a projector to be tired. So, you always pay a price. Now, in my experience, if you're going to make a really stupid mistake, life tends to give you some signs. You tend to meet quite a lot of resistance, but we didn't meet too much resistance, so it can't be so bad. And there's always something to learn, but we regret it. And when you make decisions from the mind, then that leads to all of the stories. I'm a third line in my personality. So the third line is about trial and error. Things are never going to work out as planned. And that can lead to a lot of insecurities and pessimism, especially if it's in your personality. I mean, that used to be my life, was living under a veil of pessimism, because every decision I made was from my mind, and obviously nothing worked. And the only thing you're aware of is your mistakes as a third line personality. So yeah, it can be very depressing. And I've got the 47 in my head center, which is part of the, I mean, the line is, let me show you, the line is called self-oppression. So as soon as I make a poor decision like this, the first thing that my mind jumps to is how stupid you are and you should have known better and blah, blah, blah. And how could you have ignored your inner authority and all this stuff? And of course, with my wide open sacral, what are you gonna do about it? And the mind cannot accept or it doesn't want to accept that it's made a mistake, right? And it's going to try to trap you again and drag you in, but you know, that didn't go well, but listen, I know what to do to fix it, and this time and next time it'll work. And it's very easy for me. The old me would be completely stressed out and looking for the next place already, and staying up all night worrying about it and looking at ads and everything. But now I know what to do. You just wait. You're not gonna, two wrongs don't make a right, basically. So if you end up in a situation like this where life is going fine and then you just take a left because your mind is being a backseat driver and not surrendering, then the best that you can do is adapt your environment as you can according to your PHS, your primary health system, which you can find in the advanced layer of the charts. It's in the design nodes and in the color and the tone. Now this is something a bit deeper, so you might need to ask on one of the Facebook groups or your neighborhood analyst. But basically, primary health system, part of its function is to help your body deal with life, with resistance, even when you're not living correctly, okay? How do most people survive, right? And in your environment, there's, let me show you, there's in the 6 colors of the nodes, they each have a environment. You can see caves, markets, kitchens, mountains, valleys, shores. And they're not places, okay? Let's just get that straight, because in Pop HD on Instagram, you've got a lot of people telling you that if your environment is kitchens, you've got to sleep in the kitchen. And if your environment is mountains, you've got to live in the Alps or something. And that's nothing to do with it. It's a quality, it's a frequency that can be found anywhere, in any place you are. It's something that you can recognize. And when you're living in alignment, then it's something that will naturally be there. And when you're not, it's a way that you can support your body. So for example, my environment is kitchens. So I could spend time in the kitchen cooking. And indeed, even before I knew about human design, if I was under stress, studying, exams, whatever, I'd spend hours in the kitchen. So you can do that. But really, it's places of transformation. And my environment is dry kitchens. So basically, if I can set up, you know, I've got in my room, I've got my little studio, I've got my music, I've got my creation stuff, I've got my human design setup, and it stays the same. Nobody comes in here, right? Nobody moves anything. It's how I like it. That's a dry kitchen. A wet kitchen can be much more chaotic and active. And for example, Julie, my partner, her environment is shores. So that's to do with places of transition. It doesn't mean the seaside necessarily. And luckily, there's a window here in her bedroom where she can look out over the horizon and she can go up to the terrace. And when the cockerel's not blowing its head off, she can be nice and calm there. Her digestion is a lot to do with calm. So she can resource in that way. And this is a subtle thing. So I'll go into this in a later video, but it's really something that you probably need some professional advice about. Otherwise, the mind just turns it into something completely distorted. I mean, if you're mountains, it's nice for you to have a view. If you're valleys, it's nice for you to be on the ground floor, but it's a bit deeper than that. But that's one thing you can do to make the most of where you are while you're waiting for life to get you back on track. And if you've got an open G center, well, the place you're living in, if you don't like it, nothing is going to go right in your life. If you've got a defined G center, well, it's, you know, I'm very good, especially as a third line, at adapting to not ideal places, but, you know, you're going to be more or less sensitive to that. So I'm sure life is going to sort you out. All you have to do is wait. You know, we've got our mind that wants to be a backseat driver, but the real driver is in here, in the body. And if we understand, there's a Tantric channel, the 2946, which is to do with serendipity, with being in the right place at the right time. And we can see that the key to that is the commitment in the 29 to be present in whatever the experience that you're having in your body is right now. The 46 is the love of the body as the temple. And, you know, you're always in your body. You're always here. So that's the right place for now. It always is. And if you've had even a little bit of experience with living your strategy and inner authority, then you know that life is not against you. And as long as you don't continue trying to interfere with your mind, which is how you got into a messed up situation in the first place, then it's going to sort you out. But let's have a little look at what went wrong in our process. And when you're moving as a couple, or as a family, then it can become a little bit more complex than when it's just you. For example, my inner authority is splenic. I know right away in the first minute that I visit a new place if it's healthy for me, okay? But it's quite challenging when you're emotionally open and you've got a partner who's very strongly emotional. Julie's got this wave that goes up and builds in hope and expectation, and then when it reaches reality, and it doesn't meet the expectations, sometimes it can crash, and that's really painful and hard to see. So I want to make her happy in my not self, and in my true self, of course, but it shouldn't be something that draws me away from my inner authority. And the first moment that we visited here, I felt, this place feels stressful to me. There's neighbors all around. I know it's going to be really noisy at night. I know it's just not going to flow as well. And it's true. And second thing is, even if neither of you are emotionally defined, even if both people in a partnership are emotionally opened, 9 times out of 10, in the composite of the two of you together, the chemistry combines, and 9 times out of 10, you get emotional definition. And what does that mean? Everybody with an emotional inner authority needs time. We've made that mistake quite a few times. I remember last year we visited an apartment, and in the moment it seemed fantastic. It seemed wonderful, and we felt under pressure to decide right away, so we said we'd take it. We didn't, you know, if you're emotional with big decisions like that, you've got to sleep on it at least. I mean, or take a few days, even a week, months to decide if it's a really big decision about moving country or whatever. Usually it takes as long as it takes to feel that sense of clarity, because if you're high on your wave and you visit a place, you're just going to see the good side of it. And if you're low on your wave, that's the colored glasses that you're seeing the world with. You're just going to see the bad side of things. So we visited an apartment when we were up in the wave, and it looked wonderful. But the second we moved in, 2 months later, we realized, oh no, this is not what we thought. So when you're moving as a couple, as a family, most of the time you've really got to give yourself the time to get clear on it. And so much comes out when you give yourself time. So that's the first tip if you're moving as a couple. It's quite something for the mind to recognize when it makes a mistake that it doesn't always know best. And I really encourage you, if you're in that situation, to just appreciate and try to make the most of where you are, and to relax back into the back seat, which is the right place for the mind, and let your body, which is actually living the life here and now and is connected to everything, and be open to the opportunities that come to you through your strategy. And this time, see if you can listen to your inner authority. I know I will. So let me know if you have any questions down below. Subscribe and surrender in style.